And we're back with diversity champion Torin Ellis and industry analyst Madeline Laurano.
Yeah. I want to try to bridge branding into this question. And we've all been in this industry long enough to remember the days when companies would get grilled if they had stock photos in their career site. They weren't sure.
Oh, you were there?
They weren't actually employees. And I think candidates saw this and saw, oh, there's a stock photo of someone in a wheelchair, but they don't really work there. They're just trying to pander to me and look that way. I feel like AI is in a similar vein. Companies try to create personas that aren't going to upset anybody, offend anybody. I'm seeing more sort of automated videos of people, and same thing. It's like, we don't want to offend anybody. Do we risk, like, where is that going? Will we need to come to a point where we're not safe all the time, that we need to put a real face on what our AI is presenting to the job seeker? Or do you think job seekers are perfectly happy in this robotic automated world and it doesn't need to really reflect what the company is?
And everybody's named Alex because Alex could be.
Alex, Grenadine, Branky, that's all very, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think at the end of the day, if you think about candidates, if we're talking about talent acquisition, and you think about candidates, what makes a great candidate experience is you get the job, right? We know that. That's the best experience. You got the job offer and you're going to get hired. That happens for a very small percentage of individuals. The rest of the 90, whatever percentage, are not getting the job. How do we give them a great experience? And the only way to give them a great experience is that they know they were given a fair and equitable experience. And they were given a fair shot at this. That a recruiter wasn't just, because of time constraints, looking at the top third of candidates that came in. They were given a fair experience. And if they can do that through AI and feel that they were given a fair shot, I think that's what matters. Whether it's, kind of being afraid of offending, I think that's less important. I think the most important thing is, were we given a fair shot at this job? And if not, do I understand why? And I think the more we can just have these open conversations, and employers can have these open conversations, but there's such a fear of, are they going to find out? Is there an audit trail? Are we going to get sued? And that's very real too. But I do think what the goal should ultimately be is giving every single candidate a fair and equitable experience.
Well, is there less of a risk if you're actually not pushing them into a black hole and they never find out in the first place, which is what we've been doing for decades?
Absolutely.
And again, this is what automation could do. You don't have to automatically, when they don't answer the questions correctly, hit them with a no, you're no good. You could wait 24 hours or what have you. Again, if you allow a human to do that, it's probably not going to get done. So I think there are some areas of risk that actually go away once you start to utilize automation and scale appropriately.
Yes.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I think there's going to be different tolerances for different companies and what they do if they have the ability to utilize platforms to leverage their employees for video, right? Or they don't, right? There are going to be different tolerances for those types of things, and it's going to be fun to talk about, that's for sure.
And the authenticity, like, it has to come across that this is authentic to the company, not just using these stock photos like the examples of the career site.
And for the general public, we're still learning. Their ability to discern between AI generated and real, in some cases, is still very, very new, and they don't have that prowess as of yet. But I do believe, to your point, give it a year and a half, we will get tired of seeing auto AI generated imagery, and it'll force organizations to do what I've encouraged them to do for decades: tell the truth. If we don't have people that are disabled on our team, let's talk about why we don't have that and what we're doing to make that happen.
Yeah.
If we haven't done a good job of promoting women into senior leadership, why has that been, and what can we do differently to make that happen? Pay equity should not be still a conversation, but it is. We just did a conversation a couple of months back, and it said, it gave years like 2031 for Asian women to reach pay equity, 2037 for white women to reach pay equity, 2351 for black women to reach pay equity, and the year 2400 for Latina women to reach pay equity. have honest conversations. What are we doing to correct this right now? Not just using AI to put a mask or a cover over it.
Well, to your point, most of those companies are hiding their truths, which is why they don't want to tell the truth.
Yes.
Because the truth is really nasty at this point in some cases.
Yeah. But I like that line too. We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Like that's honest. That's real. And candidates know that, employees know that too.
Talk about the generations. Obviously, younger people more embracing this. I can remember conversations where, we have to have the paper applications because some people don't have the internet, or mobile isn't important because not everyone has a smartphone. How do you guys look at the generations and how they're interacting with the technology? Because isn't that somewhat of a bias if generations, older people, for example, or people with disabilities can't even use the technology? Isn't that a bias in and of itself?
Yeah, and I think this is a very real conversation. Like the multi-generational workforce is a big deal. Like 15 years ago, and then we stopped talking about it, and now it is. I mean, they're used to communicating differently, especially Gen Alpha. I mean, we both have Gen Alphas, and this is terrifying to me of this like workforce. But they communicate differently. I mean, they use a whole different language. Like the words they use aren't even the same words we're using. They know how to do avatars, and that's how they like to engage, and they're very comfortable with technology. So I do think, especially speed is going to become a very important factor when we think about this generation, because we can't wait for no communication or a delayed response or an interview process that's going to take 10 weeks.
That's a great point.
They're used to immediacy.
Yeah, that's a great point from the standpoint of some people like our age or millennials or what have you, they won't be happy if they get an automatic rejection, where the alphas are like, I expect to know yes or no right away. It's instant gratification.
And again, how do you get there?
Yeah.
You get there by deploying AI in a way that allows you to be more personalized with the people that are engaging. Prospect, applicant, candidate. So we use our AI in ways that fine-tune towards the prospect, because that's some different types of communication and engagement. Once we become an applicant, that's a different type of engagement, candidate, and like Madeline said, to onboarding, because ultimately we want to get hired. And so I believe that, to your point, we have multiple generations. We shouldn't exclude individuals. I get it. Some stuff becomes legacy at a point. We're not going to do paper applications. I get it. It's a little bit challenging for those of us who are a bit older. I'm probably the oldest one sitting at the table, but I still want to feel like I can get busy with Generation Alpha.
Yeah.
So I'm doing what I need to do to try to stay connected to this new technology, because once again, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I can't miss the train either. I can't be set in my way and say, give me a paper application, and everybody else is like, no, we ain't doing that.
Well, and companies can't be set in their way either, because during the pandemic, we saw the highest level of individuals with disabilities getting jobs.
Yeah.
Why? Because they could work from home.
Yeah.
And then what's happening now? Rushing back to the office, which means, guess what? Those individuals with disabilities are going to have less and less opportunity.
Absolutely.
So again, you talk about the job seeker, expecting something.
Sure.
And going back to what they know, which is old hat. We have to challenge leaders
Absolutely.
of organizations that during COVID, we unveiled many different things. Like you said, Madeline, that HR and TA, we are the powerhouse of any organization. We have to reclaim that. We have to keep that. But then also being able to be more diverse and try to get more individuals with disabilities or other aspects of employees into our ranks. We have to do things differently.
Absolutely.
And it feels like we just contract
Yes.
after we have such great gains.
Yeah.
And we look at these metrics, these business metrics, in a very single lens. Like productivity is not just everyone back in the office working. Like to your point, if we have individuals that can work and do a great job from home and have a better experience that way, isn't that more productive? We just define it in one way through one term.
How are companies in your focus group dealing with the CEO wants to go back to the office? We see the benefits in not doing that. How is that conversation happening? Are you getting a sense of if employers are frustrated with what the head of the company wants to do?
Talk about that if you're seeing anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a big conversation. I think we don't talk about it enough. It's like everyone feels like we've moved past this, the pandemic. We don't need to talk about remote work anymore. But we see most companies moving to a hybrid model. And that, means employees are 2 to 3 times a week going back. And, I think there's mixed feelings. Some people like to be in the office and some people absolutely do not want to be in the office. I do think what has changed, though, is we're more comfortable talking about needing to stay home for even personal reasons, but you'll get your work done. And we know we can do it because we all did it. But I think, like, even for myself, like when I had my first son, I worked in an office. And I remember like many times with having little kids, like they're sick. And it's like, oh my gosh, no, daycare's calling or school's calling. I've got to go home. And I would much rather say I was not feeling good than ever say my son is sick at school and I have to leave now. I never would have said that. I would have come up with my own, I'm so feeling horrible. Never would have said my kid ever. And now we have kids joining Zoom calls. We have kids popping in and out. My kids are home. That's nice that's changed.
But what that requires is better leadership. We can't have individuals that are just tossed into the fray of leadership because they were incredible producers when they were carrying this, individual contributors, yes, or that they happened to take on this stretch project, did a great job with it, and so now we feel like they can lead an entire business unit, department, or team. Maybe they can, but I would say that we need to do a better job of developing our leaders inside of our organizations so that we do create that trust that we were talking about earlier.
And that was Madeline Laurano, founder at Aptitude Research, and Torin Ellis, the principal at the Torin Ellis Brand. Guys, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us on.
Appreciate you both.